You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, a program of Dear Texas Read and sponsored by Texas Authors Incorporated. If you would like to ask today's guest author a question, please do so on Twitter using the hashtag Dear Texas Radio. However, not all questions will be answered during the show. Now sit back and enjoy listening to today's show and learn about a Texas author and their books.
And welcome to this episode of Dear Texas Radio. I am your host, B. Allen Bourgeois, and I am going to be talking with a lady who has a very interesting past, as well as an interesting future ahead of her. We do encourage you to sit back, relax, just drop everything, but if you've heard me before, you'll hear me say, don't break it. We don't want you to do that. We just want you to sit down, relax, and enjoy a good book. And to help you find a good book, I have with me today Anita Dickason. Welcome, Anita.
Hi there. I am delighted to be your host, or your guest, rather, for tonight, and I thank you for hosting the show.
You're more than welcome. But if you want to be a host, you're more than welcome to do that, too. I need a break.
No, I don't think I'd have the talent for it, but thank you anyway.
You're welcome. Well, let's get right to the basics. You are a former cop with the Dallas Police Department. You've been there for over 20 years. Why were you a cop? Let's just start right there.
Oh, wow. Something that I'd always wanted to do since I was a child. Growing up, my era was the Perry Mason and Sherlock Holmes and Agatha Christie and all of that. And so sleuths and crime solving is something that I've always enjoyed very much as far as being a reader. And I think that played a lot into wanting to be a police officer. But when I came out into the workforce, a lot of jobs were still denied to women. So it took a number of years before I was able to actually reach a point where I could realize that old childhood dream. I had applied at one time for Nebraska Highway Patrol. This was back in the mid-'70s. And they said, they gave me an interview, but they said, no, you won't get hired because the guys don't want you riding, with a woman, and the wives would object to it. And there was a lot of reasons as to why I wasn't going to get hired. But when I moved to Texas, I had an opportunity to be part of a local sheriff's department reserve program. And these are volunteer officers, very much a dedicated group of people that do a lot of behind-the-scenes work that a lot of people don't realize. But I found that I really did have a passion for it, and I decided that I was at a point where I could try to go full-time. And it really was a leap of faith, both financially and physically. I have the dubious honor, I think I still may hold the distinction, being the oldest woman to graduate from the Dallas Academy. It was a decision that I never regretted. I would do it again in a heartbeat if I could. The 22 years that I had with Dallas was absolutely phenomenal. The people that I worked with, the experiences that I had, something that I never envisioned, a lot of them would entail. And I'm proud. I'm proud of the 22 years that I spent with the department. And I'm so fortunate to have had the opportunity to do it. So that's kind of how I got there.
So I want to make something clear, because you made a comment that when you were going into the workforce, a lot of jobs were still not open to women. But while you were on the Dallas Police Department, you were in the undercover aspect for narcotics. You did accident investigation. And if I remember correctly, you were a sniper with the Dallas SWAT team. Is that correct?
I was. Yes, I was. By the time that I came into the, pardon?
You do have a wide background then that allowed you to use this for your books that you have written.
Oh.
And that's where I would like to go with that aspect. But before we get into your mysteries and thrillers, You wrote your first book, which was kind of interesting. It's entitled JFK Assassination Eyewitness, Rush to Conspiracy. Now, this is a nonfiction book that reconstructs a vehicle accident involving one of the witnesses to the assassination. So what made you do that particular book to be your first one?
Well, when I retired, I found out retirement was not quite what I had envisioned. I had a lot of spare time on my hands, and I was not accustomed to that. So I decided to start my own business, an accident reconstruction business. And I got a call one day from a film company in California, and they were looking for an accident investigator that could come on air and talk about this accident that they were going to air in one of their first segments. And what the TV series was, it was one of these reality shows, and it was delving into unsolved mysteries and that type of thing. And the episode was going to deal with Lee Bowers Jr., and he was killed in 1966 in an automobile accident outside of Midlothian, which is a small community just south of Dallas. And over the years, the conspiracy theorists had built this into that he was killed because of what he saw that day. I really wasn't too interested in their offer to begin with because they only had about 3 weeks before they were going to be in Texas ready to do the filming. And I wasn't prepared to be able to go on air and talk about an accident that I didn't know anything about. But I finally agreed to at least take a look at their material. And they sent me this whole packet. And it had all the specs for the filming and where they were going and dates and times and whatnot. But they also included a video of that Geraldo Rivera had done back in the middle 90s. He had aired a segment or show on the same topic, the death of Lee Bowers. And this individual standing out in the middle of the freeway, and he's pointing to this bridge and talking about, well, this is where Bowers was killed and whatnot. Well, it didn't take very long to realize that everybody had the wrong bridge. That section of the highway didn't even exist in 1966. And so in the process, I managed to locate what was had a very high likelihood was the actual accident location. And by that time, I was so intrigued with the project, I decided to see if I could actually do a reconstruction of it. And it proved to be a highly unusual experience because I had to look at every single element of that crash and what occurred both before and after in the standards of what was applicable in 1966. For example, the ambulances back in those days were owned by the funeral homes. They loaded, and they went one of two directions. They either hauled you to the hospital or they took you to the mortuary, to the funeral home. Very little medical training for the, if any at all, as far as who was in the ambulance, the driver, and a lot of times it was the driver by himself. So all of that played into the circumstances that surrounded the death of Lee Bowers. And I finally wrote a book that detailed what my research and conclusions were, and I really enjoyed it. Had ever occurred to me to maybe try my own career in writing, but that kind of was what jump-started a whole new career for me. So that was how I got to where I'm at today because of the phone call.
A simple little thing can lead into wonderful avenues. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it sent me down a completely different path. I found that I enjoyed writing, and then I got into the publishing side of the business, and I like that a whole lot more than working accidents. So I shut down the other business, and I started a whole new one. So, yes, it was quite a change in direction.
We only have a couple minutes left of the first segment. I want to go ahead and touch upon the fact that you do work as a publisher in some respects. What exactly do you as a publisher do?
I help people publish their books. You give me the manuscript, I'll turn it into a book for you. If anybody's interested, and I'm sure you'll give them my website link later on.
Well, actually, go ahead and give them this.
Oh, okay. It's AnitaDickason.com, and that's Dickason, AnitaDickason.com. And I have a portfolio of authors that I have helped publish their works for them. I do all the formatting of the manuscripts. I do cover design. I even have helped in uploading through the various distributors, depending upon what it is that the author wants to do. There's a lot of choices today for an author as to how they want to publish their book, whether they go traditional, subsidy, or they go the independent route. And it's important to know your options, because there's also a lot of landmines that can cause some grief down the line if you make some wrong choices. So I kind of help steer them through that process, lay out a game plan so that they know what, where, and how their books are going to be sold. And it's something that I enjoy probably as much as I enjoy working on my own books. It's a lot of fun seeing a new book come to life for somebody else.
So just to clarify, are you a traditional publisher, a small press, or are you more of a book publishing consultant?
Probably more on the consulting side. Now, I do publish my own books. Yes, I am a publisher in the fact that Mystic Circle Books is my imprint, publishing imprint, and I publish my own books. I could publish someone else's if they so desired me, but I have not decided that that's the route that I want to go. I prefer to set a manuscript or a book up for someone to where they own all of the rights, and that includes more than just the copyright. It also includes the distribution rights as well as the cover copyright. And those are very important things that an author needs to consider when they're, as to what they're going to do with their book and how they're going to publish it as to what they remain control with. So,
all right. Okay.
Hope that answered your question.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you. So we're going to actually stop here, and then when we come back for the second half, we will talk about your books that you did write that involves mysteries and thrillers and crime and all that fun stuff, which you definitely have the background for. So we'll definitely talk about that. But at the moment, we will have to step away and let our sponsors do their thing. We'll be right back.
Do you love to read? Do you love to read great new ebooks? Visit EBG247.com. Be the first to discover the next bestseller. At EBG247, we have the web's largest selection of great new book reads, from that amazing new fiction or nonfiction to horror, romance, and fantasy. We even have today's best children's books. That's EBG247.com. New books arrive daily, and all ebooks start at just 99 cents. If you love to read, then you'll love EBG247.com. Low prices, large selection, and an easy-to-use website. It's all only at EBG247.com.
Living under a theocracy is tough enough, but out of nowhere, a secret mission threatens everything in a common soldier's life. Now Salvik must do all he can to protect his people and the woman he loves. The Gray Blade by Aaron Ward is the first in the God Swords series, available at your favorite bookstore or at books.txauthors.com. Longtime developmental editor Susan Malone fosters writers' innate talents to help them become successfully published authors. Over 50 Malone-edited books have sold to traditional publishers. Her authors' books win major literary awards, reach the bestsellers list, and become films. She offers in-depth, personalized editing and coaching to turn your manuscript into a successful published book. To learn more about Susan Malone's services, please visit maloneeditorial.com.
Love to read? Love to meet authors in person? Then check out bookfestival.network to find a book festival in your region of Texas. We are adding book festival events throughout the year, so sign up to get notices and even a coupon towards purchase of a Texas author's book. Sign up at bookfestival.network. Texas Authors is accepting entries into their 6th annual book contest. Go to books.txauthors.com and sign up. Contest is valid for Texas authors only and is open to anyone 18 years of age and older who published a book during the 2017 calendar year. Enter at books.txauthors.com today. Attention students in grades 6 through 12. Do you love to write? Texas Authors Institute of History is kicking off its first statewide short story contest for students. It's free to enter and a great way to begin your career in writing. Sign up at shortstory.texasauthors.institute for complete rules. Again, to enter, go to shortstory.texasauthors.institute. You can win cash prizes and an opportunity to be published. Hello, Texas authors. My name is Randy James, coming to you from my Carrollton recording studio, where I spend time writing and producing commercials for my radio endorsement clients, as well as my private freelance clients. I'd like the opportunity to help you sell more books with a commercial like this and get listeners of Dear Texas Radio excited about your title, all at a special introductory price, available to members of the Texas Association of Authors. Call or text 214-762-1942. That's 214-762-1942. You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, a program of Dear Texas Read and sponsored by Texas Authors Incorporated. If you would like to ask today's guest author a question, please do so on Twitter using the hashtag Dear Texas Radio. However, not all questions will be answered during the show. Now sit back and enjoy listening to today's show and learn about a Texas author and their books.
And welcome back. This is your host, B. Alan Bourgeois. I am talking with Anita Dickason, who has extensive background in the police departments, which gives her a nice perspective in writing books about thrillers, crimes, and mysteries. Welcome back, Anita. We're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
So you have two current books, and or actually three, but two that we're going to talk about: Sentinels of the Night and Going Gone. Now, right off the bat, my first thought about Going Gone is something similar to the movie, I believe it's Gone Girl or something of that nature, where somebody disappears and, you know, there's a lot of questions of really did they do it or not. But yours is slightly different, correct?
I think so, yes.
So explain what yours is about.
All right. We're discussing Going Gone, right?
Correct.
Okay. This is a plot about kidnapped children, but they are the children of some of the highest-ranking politicians that are on Capitol Hill. So this is where, yes, the title Going Gone kind of comes from, but it is it's a little bit more realistic in that I've pared back the paranormal aspect of it that I had in Sentinels of the Night. But it involves the tracker unit. This is a group of agents that I set up in Sentinels of the Night. They each have special ability, a little extra gift, a little extra edge to within their own realm that they've kept hidden from other agents. The group, even though the novels are standalone, there is still a continuity of the team from book to book. And in Going Gone, I took a little different approach to interagency rivalry. This is something that has been around for forever. Lack of communication, lack of sharing of information, however you might want to talk about it, it still exists somewhat. Agencies can be very territorial, if I've pronounced that correct. In Going Gone, I put a different spin on it. The characters are actually having to keep the investigation secret, the details of it, because they have discovered that this plot extends clear into the White House. And they don't know who they can trust, and if they make a mistake, it could cost the lives of the children that have been kidnapped. So that's kind of the basis and what that story is all about. Takes place in Texas.
What made you come up with that concept, that idea?
I wanted to do something with how agencies interact with each other. And I thought, this is maybe a good way to approach it. And I'm finding out that within my writing, because I've also done a couple of other little short stories that were, they were up as ebooks. They were never full-length novels or anything. But I have a tendency to gravitate towards children. They were the best and the worst of the job, as far as I was concerned. Some of my best moments dealt with children when I was with the department. And so I just kind of seemed sometimes to gravitate towards that, and that just seemed to be a natural extension of what I wanted to do with the underlying, elements and whatnot, was to create something that would really be traumatic for the characters. And I don't think there's anything more traumatic than dealing with a child. So that's kind of how the whole thing evolved.
Okay. It sounds like it was a challenge to write, because you are dealing with children, and I'm sure through your years of experience as a cop, you had to deal with a lot of unpleasant aspects with crimes relating to children.
I did. And what made this one particularly challenging is that I extended shifting between the investigators. This was a very complicated plot because of the individual that was behind it. There were a lot of twists and turns to it, and trying to keep track of all of those details, I found out was very challenging. Who knew what and when, and it was a deliberate on my part to make it complicated, and I think it turned out very well. Some of the reviews that I've gotten have indicated that the story is very enjoyable, and I haven't had any eagle-eyed readers out there spot something that, at least that I know about, that said, "Oh, wait a minute, she missed a detail here." So it was a fun book to write.
Okay. We only have a few minutes left, but I want to talk about Sentinels of the Night. Now, you have an FBI agent, a tracker, as it's termed, Kat Morgan, who has an unusual talent, and she's been really good at concealing that up until a body comes across her path, is the only way I can put it. You chose to write about a woman because you are a woman, I'm assuming. Please correct me if that's wrong. Is that
no,
something
you're
that
right.
you felt was that something that's important? Being a female police officer, to show that one, female police officers are not only qualified, but can do the job better or equal to anybody else.
No, I don't really think that played into it as much as how I wanted the character for the book. As a side note, and let me address what you just referred to, women have come a long way over the last few years. And even when I started with the department, there were a lot of women that broke ground before I ever came into the Dallas Police Department. And in today's environment, I think it's very well recognized that we're very capable of doing the job as well as anybody. So I didn't feel that I needed to prove anything in that respect by coming up with the character the way that I did. I started with Kat, and it's more dealing with the paranormal element that I brought into play, that she, having a female in that role, was something that I could develop in depth, and her relationship with what is the Sentinels of the Night. I like reading a lot of myths and legends. I've been studying these and reading books and whatnot over the years, and especially dealing with the American Indians. And the paranormal element in this book was actually pulled from a Indian legend they consider owls to be the guardians, the messengers of the night, and even dying is crossing the owl's bridge. And there was a lady that I came across. Her name was Alice C. Fletcher. She was born in 1838, died in 1923. And this was a lady that was really ahead of her time in a man's world back in those days. She was an ethnologist, an anthropologist. She lived with the Indians. She studied their culture. She wrote books about them. And one of the things that she did is she translated their chants. And it was one of those translated chants that I pulled that paranormal element from. And this is what I do all the way through my books. I base it on myths and legends to give it a little unique twist. And that just seemed to be more suited to the character of Cat Morgan. Right now there are 5 agents that are within the team, and they all play somewhat of a role in both Sentinels of the Night and then more so in Going Gone. And matter of fact, Cat comes back in the 3rd novel. She plays a part of a role there. But it was based more on the character itself and how I could develop that with the paranormal element that I wanted to use.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we're just about out of time, and I would like for you to let people know where they can find your books.
Thank you. They are for sale on all retail outlets, iBooks, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Book Depository, Amazon. They're most any retail outlet, whether they sell print book or ebook, they are available in all 3 versions. I did a hardback, well as the paperback and the ebook, of course. Right now, Sentinels is on sale for 99 cents. I'm doing some blog tours that I'm using the book to promote it, and so it'd be a good time to get the ebook.
Okay, and you did mention you do have the 3rd book, and you're hoping to have it out by the middle of next year. Is that correct?
I'm hoping by the end of January I'll be ready to go with it. It is based here in Texas again. And this time an ATF agent has gone missing, and that's what sets the tracker team in motion.
And I'm going to stop
another
you
one
right
of the
there,
agents.
We have run out
Okay.
of time. I do apologize, but we are out of time, and I thank you very much for being with us today. And we do encourage people to take a look at our books. You can find sample chapters at books.cxauthors.com. Thank you, and enjoy your day.
Thank you for listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage everyone to drop everything and read a great book by a Texas author. More information about this show or any of our shows from the past years can be found at radio.deartexas.info. That's radio.deartexas.info. I'm Randy James, your announcer for Dear